Hello, Canucks fans, and welcome back to another episode of Canucks Conversation, brought to you as always by the 2024 Toyota BZ4X. The BZ4X is Toyota's brand new all-electric SUV that is designed to go the distance for you and your family. Where is it here? Yeah, the BZ4X is packed with Toyota's coolest tech, but still has that trusty SUV feel you know and love. There it is. I don't know why I keep losing it. Although, Grady, I think the YouTube stream might not be up. Anyways, the BZ4X, even though it's electric, it's capable of effortlessly conquering any terrain, whether it's rain, snow, mud, or your friend's questionable post-game recaps. The BZ4X will get you through it all. Is the live stream up? Yeah, there we go. Oh, no, you got it now. Attaboy, Grady. Dave Quattrelli, Harmon and our technical producer, who has the stream up, Grady Sass. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to catch up on the YouTube live chat, and all I saw was people saying we were late. And, needed to make sure we were actually up, but we're up, and we're ready to go. Harmon, 117 more babies have been born since the last time I did an episode. You weren't there yesterday. You don't understand that joke at all. You didn't watch yesterday's show, did you?
No, I didn't. Not at all.
All right, so I'll redo the bit. No, I won't do it from the top, but I'll tell you. I started yesterday's show. We listened to the Artie Party song, and I started by reading, according to Stats Canada, 43,000 children on average are born each year in British Columbia, which averages out to 117 per day. So I started the show by reading that stat to Irf, and while he looked all confused, I just asked him how many of those kids does he think were named Arturs, and how many of them had the Artie Party theme song blasting in the delivery room. I'd say about 70. Harm.
Maybe one or two. Well, I'll give you one or two. How many of them are named Brock, though? Because Brock's a common name, right? And coming off a hat trick.
I actually read, and someone has fact checked this, but I read recently that like the most used name in 2021 in the United States was Elias. So
really,
I don't know. Yeah, Elias is a really common name apparently. Hang on, there's a site that shows you the most common names or most used names, because common names would tell you adults too. Most used baby names per year. I swear 1 year it was Elias. Oh no, it's Liam. Wow, Liam's on a tear. Liam and Olivia have had three-peats. 2022, 2021, 2020. Wow. Liam and Olivia. This is crazy. See, Elias was on here. Oh, yeah, Elias got bumped off his throne. Ethan's a popular one.
Patterson needs to get going. If Patterson gets going, then I'm sure that'll be a bounce back there.
It'll be Elias, Niels, Arturs. You'll start seeing those pop up. Someone in the chat here said, I'm naming my son Brockstar. There you go. There's something. Brock. You got
I don't know about the star at the end, but
middle name Star? Come on.
Middle name, but you come on, imagine a kid whose name is just Brockstar.
Okay. Well, where were we even going with this? Jeff Patterson's gonna join us about 10 minutes. Hopefully he'll get us back on the rails. I don't know. Last few shows I've just started completely off the rails, but Harm, we have a game to talk about. The Vancouver Canucks have an opportunity to clinch a series on home ice for the first time since 2011 when Kevin Bieksa scored the stanchion goal to send the Canucks to the playoffs in overtime against the San Jose Sharks, to the Cup final in that game against the San Jose Sharks. That's the last time a playoff series has been clinched on home ice for the Canucks.
Pretty crazy when you think about it. It's been a long time, and first of all, I think it's remarkable that they're up 3-1, given how many things have gone against them, right? You start with the three goalies. You start with Quinn Hughes looking banged up the last couple of days and not really being a one-man breakout machine like we're accustomed to seeing. Elias Pettersson has looked completely lost, and they've had to erase two third-period deficits, one in Game 1 and, of course, most recently in Game 4 on Sunday. To get to this point, this team has shown a lot of guts, character, and resolve. This is extremely impressive stuff, and just right off the bat, mental fortitude is a huge reason why they've been able to get to this point, because really a lot of things have gone against them in this series that we didn't expect would turn against them.
Yeah, and I mean, they've continued to battle. They continue to fall back on their defensive structure when things aren't going great. And that's something that Rick Tocchet talked a lot about yesterday when he did a media avail, was just that when the offense hasn't been going and when some guys haven't been clicking at 100%, he said they've been able to fall back on this defensive structure. I think that's a very good way to look at it, is that when things don't go well in the past, or when they wouldn't have gone well in the past, the team would just collapse all over the ice, right? Like, okay, offense isn't going well, neither is the defense. But when it comes to just protecting the middle of the ice, the Canucks kind of know they can fall back on that. Hey, like I say recently, in the bubble against Vegas, for example, that was what ultimately kept them in that series, was their ability to guard that home plate area. And we're seeing it right now in the playoffs. So you have to like the mental fortitude, as you said, from this team. One of the things that hasn't gone right, I guess, is the goaltending. But then when it hasn't gone right, all of a sudden it has gone right, because the guys that are going in net are getting the job done. Canucks turning to Archer Shilovs tonight. There's a chance that Casey DeSmith backs up here. And for those wondering, I already talked to Irfan Gafar, who hosted yesterday. He bet me dinner that DeSmith would start today, Harm. And I said, this is going to be a Shilov start. And I was saying it had to be Archer Shilovs. It's not, and again, I don't want to get into, oh, is DeSmith banged up or anything like that. Irf was very confident that it would be DeSmith today, and I was very confident that it would be Shilovs. Although by the end of it, I did say, you know what, there's a nice, there's good enough reasons to go with DeSmith in this game over Shilovs. But again, even if DeSmith is 100%, Shilovs isn't going to give you a crazy less chance of winning the game. I think he earned this start.
Absolutely. I mean, put it this way, when the news first came out that DeSmith was questionable to start game 4, there wasn't any part of me that went, oh no, the Canucks are in trouble, or oh, there's going to be a significant drop off in goal, just because Shilovs and DeSmith at this point, especially when Thatcher Demko was out, were playing at a pretty similar level. And from that perspective, again, going into game 4, I didn't think that there'd be a drop off, and there really wasn't. DeSmith was great in game 3, and Shilovs was really sharp in game 4 as well. I mean, he had to make a number of big stops. I mean, not just the overall volume of shots that Nashville got on net, but Alex Carrier, for example, had a breakaway chance late in the first period. You think about Kiefer Sherwood's shorthanded opportunity in the second period, 2-on-1 chance that Shilov stopped him on. There was a brilliant glove save in the slot that he made on Anthony Beauvillier when Phil Peronic was in like a 50-50 battle and accidentally deflected the puck right into the slot. So it wasn't just that the Canucks kept all of Nashville's shots to the outside, and he just made sure that he didn't allow any stinkers. Like, he made legit big grade A stops, and the team themselves after the game, you talk to each one of the players, all of them said that we have a lot of trust in Shilovs at this point. He's confident and he has an unflappable demeanor. I love, for example, when he was asked about how he found out he was going to start game 4 and what his reaction was going to be, and just nonchalant, he smiled and said, time to shine. Just, you love that kind of stuff. And even from an atmosphere perspective of being thrown into a difficult spot, playoff hockey, a lot of pressure on him, he spoke about, of course, having to play with the pressure of Latvia and trying to get a medal, and how it feels like the weight of the country's expectations are on him. So he's at least experienced high stakes games, even if it's not in an NHL playoff environment before game 4, of course.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, Latvia had never won a medal before Shilov showed up, right? Like, he won MVP of that entire tournament. He wasn't just Latvia's MVP. He was the entire tournament's MVP, and they finished 3rd. They had never won a medal. Vancouver's never won a Stanley Cup. You do the math, Harm. You do the math.
Okay, let's lower roll a little bit there.
Nar, imagine a series clinching Artie party. Nar, I've been imagining it since this kid was drafted. Pull up the article, Grady, where I said everybody should be higher on Shilovs. Put that article out in like 2020, 2021 or something. I don't know. I was the first on Shilovs. I'll take my victory laps, and I'll be taking my victory laps tomorrow as Grady shows us the 2024 playoff stats for all 3 Canucks goaltenders, all 3 of whom have a better save percentage than UC Saros, who we expect is going to stop opposite of Archer She Loves tonight in the Nashville net when these teams play game 5 of this series. Okay, quickly, got to tell you about one of our sponsors, and that is the Daily Face-Off. Where'd it go? Oh, the DFO parlay game. That's it. See, I'm on top of things. I'm on top of things here. The Daily Face-Off Playoff Parlay Challenge. Each game day, answer 4 questions, pick the winning team, guess if points will be over or under, predict the first goal, and choose the highest scoring period. Daily winners snag gift cards while each round's champs pocket cash. Play now at games.dailyfaceoff.com and prove your puck prowess. It's fast, it's fun, and it's all about hockey. Let's go. We're going to continue this conversation, this preview of tonight's game with our man who's on the road with you, Harm. And he's going to be at the game tonight. He's going to be on Rink Wide after the game. Jeff Paterson, who is brought to you by Greta, the home of our electric watch parties. Make Greta your spot pregame, postgame, and of course during the game, especially away games, whether the Canucks are at home or on the road. Just a 10-minute walk from Rogers Arena. Eat, drink, and play at Greta Bar YVR. All right, let's bring him in. Jeff Paterson, who, as I said a few times, and I'm sure I'll say a few more times, will be on Rink Wide. Look at that mic. Look at that mic. Rink Wide Vancouver, flashing it. Beautiful, beautiful, Jeff. Jeff, thanks so much for joining us. How was the road?
Yeah, the road was terrific. In fact, spending so much time around Harm, we're starting to dress alike now, which I think is a bit of a concern here. We're both going with burgundy today, although you're not that far off, Dave. At first, I thought we're all wearing the same, but I think you're kind of got some sort of roasted orange or burnt. Anyways, whatever. You look good with the Lions hat. Road was terrific. Nashville is a heck of a city for people that haven't had an opportunity. Put it on your list. People go to have fun. Everybody's in a good mood. 18,000 weren't late on Sunday afternoon necessarily. Although it was fun too that, there were, a couple hundred Canuck fans in the building, sort of pockets throughout Bridgestone Arena. And it was great after I had finished up all my work and done Rink Wide on Sunday night and was still sort of processing the sensory overload of everything that I had witnessed there late in the game and overtime. Walked out into the streets, and it was an early start. It was a 4:00 local time start in Nashville. And so the game, even with overtime, I got out of the building around 9:30 or 10. And there were 2 guys in Canuck jerseys standing on the street corner as I was waiting to cross. And I just said, have any fun? And one of them knew, I guess, who I was. And so, we got into a pretty good conversation. And as it turned out, his dad, I'd say the guy was mid-30s, and his father had flown from Vancouver down for the games. This guy had driven in from Raleigh, North Carolina. He said an 8-hour drive, and it was well worth it. And he was heading back home early on Monday morning. But, they were absolutely floating on air, having watched the Canucks erase the deficit and then win in overtime. So absolute payoff. A lot of the people that were on my flight, probably the same with Harm getting out of Nashville. A lot of Canuck fans making their way back, and money well spent, I would imagine, to get that sort of experience. Because, look, I have been around this game a while, have seen a lot of things, been fortunate to cover a lot of great events. That one is right up at the top of the list of things that I've witnessed live and in person, to the point that I tweeted out that they were going back for game 6. I honestly, I thought they were done. Like, that tweet went out with about 3 minutes to go because they had shown absolutely no inkling of a comeback. Stupid me? Absolutely. And people were like, delete. And I was like, you know what? Look, I'll own that one. People can keep the receipts. But it almost sort of told the story. Like, they were getting outshot 10-2 in the third period the other day when they were down 3-1. Like, there was no comeback in the offing until there was, and they had tied the game and gone to overtime. It was incredible theater, amazing drama, still a blur. I had to go back to my hotel room after the game and rewatch the third period because you see it once in real time, but you can't make sense of it all. And then the post game, and Harm can speak to, it's just chaos. You're running around the dressing room trying to talk to everybody to get the reaction. And, it's in one ear and out the other. Unfortunately, it's on your recording device. And it really, just an amazing, that's what we love about sports. We just expect the unexpected, I suppose. And just to bring the conversation around to tonight too, honestly, if the Canucks get to a point and they have a 3-1 lead late in this hockey game, like, you know full well that, like, of all teams, they're going to recognize that the game is not over until the final buzzer sounds, and that they better play hard until that final whistle, because the Preds aren't going to quit. The Preds are just going to keep doing what they've been doing. They have to think that at some point, Andrew Brunette said after the game the other day, like, the hockey guards are going to have to smile on us here. We're playing well enough to win these games, and they just got to do a better job of seeing them through. So I don't imagine that you're going to see a whole lot different from Nashville. And really, I'm kind of curious to see how the Canucks ultimately approach and then execute in this one tonight.
Any surprise with them? Well, we don't know for sure. They're keeping it kind of close to the chest here with who they're going with in net, but it looks like Artur Shilov's Irfan Gafar, who co-hosted with me yesterday, reporting that it is Artur Shilov's getting the crease for the Canucks night. If that happens, Jeff, any surprise with that decision?
No, look, they told Artur Shilovs he was playing on Saturday ahead of Sunday's start. And I think the same thing sort of applies here. Like, I don't believe for a second that it's actually a game time decision. I think Rick Tocchet is sort of buying into this gamesmanship. And actually, I thought it was really interesting when Tocchet was asked, who's your starter today? And he said, game time. And then he said, I'd like to tell you, but I've been told it's playoff time, and therefore it's a game time decision. So clearly the powers from above don't want Rick Tocchet tipping his hand, which I thought was interesting because he's been honest with us all season long. And that's what made Sunday so interesting in his pregame availability, where he wouldn't name a starting goaltender. And that's just something that we haven't seen from him. And at that point, alarm bells were going off and the story took off. I just think that, look, Casey DeSmith was out on the ice this morning working with Ian Clark. Rick Tocchet said that, in all likelihood, both of the guys would be in uniform tonight. He wouldn't name a starter, but he was asked, because Casey Smith went from playing Friday, practicing Saturday, couldn't even be in uniform on Sunday as the backup. So we do expect that Tolopilo is going to get the night off, and that the other two. But I think that you owe it to Artur Shilovs to let him know well in advance that they're not going to string him along until 5 o'clock and then find out that DeSmith isn't 100% and Artie, we need you again tonight. So I think the decision has been made. I think they've probably told Shilovs yesterday so that he could do all the preparation. And just looking, like, there was a little bit of gamesmanship in the morning skate. The two of them kind of left the ice almost in sync at the same time. Shilovs was the guy that, first step off the ice. So officially he was the first guy. But, at one point, DeSmith was leaning over the bench talking to the trainers, and Rick Tocchet came in. And meanwhile, Shilovs is sort of out on his own, meditating and doing the visualization that a lot of goalies do. Those are sort of the tells that that's part of the pregame preparation. So I'm anticipating that it's going to be Artur Shilovs, and I think this guy has shown. You were talking about the World Championships. I think back, look, his NHL debut was against a really good Rangers team. He faced the Boston Bruins last year. He beat Vegas. It didn't get off to a great start, but one of the most recent home games for him was, standing tall once he got off to a shaky start, and the Canucks battled back and beat Vegas down the stretch. And then to get thrown in playoff hockey in Nashville, playoff overtime, even though he didn't face a shot. This guy's faced a lot at a relatively early age. And, Harm, you mentioned the great quote after the game, like, just it's go time, right? Like, I want the opportunity to give me the ball. And so I expect that he'll step up and perform again tonight. That doesn't guarantee the Canucks are going to win, but if they lose, I doubt it'll be because of Artur Shilov's goaltending. I fully, as I go to the rink tonight, I fully expect that he will deliver another thorough, professional performance that will allow the Canucks every opportunity to win this hockey game and avoid having to go back to Nashville for Game 6.
As we look at the rest of the roster, it really seems as if JT and Brock have put the Vancouver offense on their back. Who else would you look at as an unsung hero for the Canucks to be at this point in the series up 3-1?
Well, I'm glad you singled those guys out. Like, there's been so much talk about what hasn't happened for the Canucks with Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes. They are where they are almost single-handedly or double-handedly by the fact that the top of their lineup has been better than the Predators' top of the lineup. Like, Philip Forsberg has 4 points, but I don't feel like he has controlled a game to this point in the series. I mean, he kicked that one in the other night. It counted, but he scored a beautiful goal in Game 2, but the one the other night off his skate and in. And Roman Josi, for all the talk about Quinn Hughes and what the Predators are doing to him, Roman Josi led the National Hockey League in both goals for defensemen and shots on goal for defensemen. I remember he rang that one slap shot off the crossbar in one of the games here in Vancouver, but he doesn't have a goal. He has 2 assists, and he only has 6 shots on goal. Like, the Canucks have done a nice job of not allowing him. I mean, this guy can dictate hockey games and take them over himself. And he's been relatively quiet. So I do think that the top of the Canucks lineup with Miller and Besser, they have performed at a level higher than anybody else in this series. And that's one of the reasons the Canucks, even though the team hasn't been at its best, those guys both score on the power play in game 3. And then Brock with the hat trick, JT with 3 assists. JT was in on 5 of the 6 goals that were scored in Nashville. Well, they really channeling in his inner Ryan Kessler from 2011. So there's a drop-off after those two guys. I do think that Nikita Zadorov has been giving it everything you hope for him. I didn't think he was great in game 4. He had a couple of shifts. Look, he can be an adventure with the puck, but the guy's a gamer at playoff time and using his size effectively. And Ian Cole, I thought he was running out of gas down the stretch and was a big proponent of load management. But you're seeing the veteran savvy now. This is why they went out and they got him to kill penalties and block shots with his face and his helmet like he did at the tail end of game number 3 there. The penalty kill. If you're looking for an unsung hero in this whole series, the Preds scored on their first power play. Teddy Bluger took a penalty in game 1 and O'Reilly scored. The Canucks killed off 14 straight, including that 5-on-3 late in game number 3 in Nashville. And I thought a fascinating quote from JT after that game where he said, look, last year, if they get a power play in the third period in that situation, they are scoring. Those were the words out of JT Miller's mouth. And he was doing it to underscore how this team now has turned this so that the penalty kill is becoming a strength for the hockey club, and they've killed off 14 straight. So between the goalie drama and the fact that 3 different guys have a victory 4 games into the series is mind-blowing. Much as the comeback was, but I would put Miller and Besser at the top. I think the special teams, but particularly the penalty kill, and the fact that goaltending depth is stepping up. And UC Soros hasn't been very good. The numbers bear that out. The overtime winner, there were breakdowns before him. They would love to stop there, but 2 6-on-5 goals. I thought he was swimming. He was down. He was kind of flailing about in his crease. He's not a big goaltender to begin with, and the Canucks were able to exploit some of that and take advantage. And so. Can Saros be better? I imagine he can be, but he hasn't been particularly good in this series.
Jeff, we have to ask you about him. Elias Pettersson. He's drawn a lot of criticism in this series. Rick Tocchet keeps saying he thinks this line is going to get going. Tonight's the night. Tonight's the night they get going. He's been saying it before every game, it seems, but he said it again yesterday. He thinks this is the night when the Elias Pettersson line comes alive.
Yeah, it's kind. I chuckle a little bit now when Rick is asked about Paterson because he'll always couch it with, "We need 4 or 5 guys to get going," and the whole world knows that that's code for we need Paterson to get going. But earlier in the season when he singled him out, it became a big story here, and it sounded like the coach was taking shots at the star player, and he doesn't want any part of that, certainly in playoff time. So I get where he's coming from. Guys, it's getting hard to talk about because there isn't much of anything to cling to at this point. And I find it's going from bad to worse. And when he gets rolled the way that he did in that celebration after the 1-1 goal and just accepted it, I'm still having trouble with that. I know that, he's not going to drop his gloves and fight anybody. I didn't expect that, but it's playoff time. Just about anything goes. You get rolled, get up and push back, break up their party there. And, you're going to get back up. You're not going to be on your own, but that one was shocking to me. Just sort of how passive he was in that moment, as if, oh, no big deal. You guys can just steamroll me and whatever. He didn't let his play do his talking for him. There wasn't that fired him up, and the next shift he stick handled through all the Predators. Rick Tocchet loves his duos. It starts with JT and Brock, but I am starting to wonder about Höglander and Pettersson. It's not all Elias Pettersson. I mean, you look at him and 1 goal in 16 games, that's not good enough. You're looking for some flash points, and I know he got an assist on the game-tying goal the other day, but it's hard to watch. It's hard to make any sense of at this point. And quite frankly, the Vancouver Canucks have a 3-1 series lead, and this 89-point performer in the regular season has basically been AWOL, save for, I barely saw him in Nashville aside from, we saw him out for dinner with his parents. So they were there, and he was there having a little barbecue on Saturday night, but I don't know. I got fired up with the barbecue. I thought maybe the barbecue would fire him up, but that didn't seem to be the case on Sunday afternoon. So I get where Tocchet's coming from. Every game, you do hope that tonight's the night that old Petey's going to show up. But I tell you that hours before faceoff, I'm not anticipating that this is going to be the night that Elias Pettersson single-handedly, takes over this series and punches the Canucks ticket to the next round. That you hate to call him a passenger, but that's almost what he is at this point in this series.
It feels like the Canucks are probably going to need to play better at 5-on-5 than they did in games 3 and 4 against Nashville, and stringing a more consistent performance, not being on their heels as much. Why do you think they were playing so much of games 3 and 4 in their own end? And what do you think needs to change for them to dictate play a little bit better in game 5 at on home ice?
Yeah, I mean, game 3 with the 12 shots, it's nuts to think that they won that game, but they did have a 2-0 lead. And we know that that's kind of been the blueprint for the Canucks all season: get the lead and then defend. And they did that. And it looked like DeSmith might get a shutout until the late Luke Evangelista goal. And still, there was a frantic couple of minutes there at the end, but they won that hockey game. So it wasn't pretty, but I didn't have that big a deal with the way that they played, because they were dictating with the lead, and the power play was coming through for them. But on Sunday, I thought they were way too passive. You saw what happened when Quinn Hughes isn't at 100%. Like, he can't break the puck out, and really nobody else on that defense core can even touch what Quinn Hughes does. And so, I thought they spent way too much in their own zone. The Predators obviously turning up the heat. Guys like Kiefer Sherwood and Cole Smith and Mike McCarron and Mark Jankowski. Jason Zucker's actually been a bit of a thorn in the side, and obviously was part of that double team on Quinn Hughes as well. Those guys are finishing checks, and I'm not really seeing a lot of that from the counterparts on the Canucks, whether it's PDG or Sam Lafferty or Dakota Joshua has been remarkably quiet, I think, other than the third period of game number 1 of this series. I'd like to see a whole lot more out of him. And so 5-on-5, this is crazy to me, guys, that when you look at what's happened in the last 3 games of this series, they lost game 2. Nikita Zadorov scored the only goal for the Canucks. Game 3, 2 power play goals. So games 2 and 3, no 5-on-5 goals from a forward. Game 4, Brock Besser opens the scoring off that set play. That was a 5-on-5 goal. And then they get the 2 6-on-5 goals. And so ignore overtime for a second, just for the point of this exercise, because the overtime goal is 5-on-5, and it was a beauty, and it obviously a huge goal for them. But if you go in the run of regulation play, the last 3 games, the Brock Besser goal off that faceoff in game 4 is the only goal from a Canuck forward at 5-on-5. The last 3 hockey games, they are playing with fire that way, but they're finding enough in enough areas elsewhere. And again, I go back to the fact that the Predators haven't had anybody that's really risen above. They've had a couple of moments from a couple of guys, but as you sit here and you say who's been the best Predator start to finish through this series, I don't think you can make a strong argument that it's been Philip Forsberg or Roman Josi. And if you had told me that before the series, 4 games in, that those guys have been okay, but not a whole lot better than that, then I'd say, hey, Canucks probably in full control of that series. So, we spend so much time focusing on the Canucks and what they're doing, but there are 2 teams out there. And maybe tonight's the night one of those Predator guys rises up and takes control of the hockey game. But Canucks have done a pretty good job of neutralizing them to this point, and I'm sure they want that to continue into game 5 this evening.
Yeah, and even for Forsberg, you have to think with his miscue on the overtime goal, not switching with Ryan O'Reilly, you have to think he watched that and says, okay, I need to do something about this. Our season cannot end tonight. So yeah, as much as it's a great story for the Canucks to clinch tonight, they don't want their season to end, and that's what they're fighting for tonight. So it'll be an interesting game for sure. And like I said, you will be on rink wide after the game. One more from me, Jeff. Just one more if you have some time. I wanted to ask you about Quinn Hughes, because you wrote about it today in Scenes from Morning Skate. You mentioned Zucker with the sandwich hit there, and we saw Hughes get shaken up, and he was off the bench, kind of bent over, missed a shift or 2, I think. He said he's feeling fine, and he even gave them credit today. He just said they're doing their job. He's not complaining about getting hit. What did you think of all that, and what did you hear from Quinn Hughes today?
I thought he was in remarkably good spirits, and it's funny, and I don't know about you, Harm, but I talked to him before game 3 in Nashville, and then just the other storylines started to present themselves, and I didn't talk to him after practice on Saturday, and then game 4 comes along, and you've got the goaltending drama, you've got Besser with a hat trick, you've got Lindholm as the overtime hero. There were so many guys to talk to. I didn't talk to the captain after one of the greatest comeback victories in franchise history. And so I hadn't had a chance to talk to Quinn Hughes, and certainly the pounding that he's taking is a story, but there were too many other things going on. And so I traveled yesterday, so I wasn't at the rink when they had their availabilities, but I wanted to make sure that we had access to Quinn Hughes today. And if they had told us that he wasn't available because he needed maintenance, I think that would have told you something. But no, Quinn was there, and he was in remarkably good spirits. That sort of impish grin that he's got on his face, and he said exactly that. Yes, the Predators, like, that's their job. They're a good team, and they're paying him attention. And I think deep down, he has to take it as a compliment in the moment when two guys are bearing down and crunching him against the boards. He's probably not thinking that, hey, that's a nice compliment. My ribs don't feel so good, but I'll take it as a compliment. But I asked him, I said, look, you're 4 games into this now. You've had a wild comeback. You've had crazy crowds in both buildings. Like, for the guys in this locker room, and remember, before the series, this was a massive storyline. So many guys just had the bubble as a baseline. I said, like, do you feel like you're getting the full meal deal now of playoff hockey? And again, it broke out into a big smile and said, yes. And like, I'm loving it. I'm having fun. This is what it's all about. And so again, Quinn's a funny guy that, like, you can tell a lot, I think, about by his mood, and he can be pretty serious and sometimes dour. But on a day that his brother was nominated for Rookie of the Year in the National Hockey League, smiles for Quinn Hughes, who I do think deep down is relishing the opportunity to play the highest stakes hockey that he's had the chance to play in his brief time in the National Hockey League. So he says he's in a good mood and good place. Let's see if that body is willing to allow him to do Quinn Hughes things, because you saw on that spin move away from Gus Nyquist, there's still that magic there that he can summon enough to help the Vancouver Canucks come all the way back to beat the Predators the other night.
Yeah, I'm just hoping Gus Nyquist made the flight to Vancouver. I was assuming he was still sliding somewhere in Bridgestone Arena. He's still sliding to this day. Jeff, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And folks, you can listen to Jeff and his co-host, Irf, tonight. Irf Ungafar.
Yep, it's
Irf Ungafar. Will be joining Jeff on Rinkwide. You can catch him live like you do our YouTube show and join in the YouTube live chat as well. Jeff, thanks so much for doing this.
All right, guys.
There he is, Jeff Paterson, who again was brought to you by Greta. Harm, we're going to get to anyone else, and I'm sure it's just going to be questions about tonight's game. Although I did see one that I really want to get to from Nar. But before that, we got to do our Light the Lamp contest, which is brought to you, as always, by our friends at 4 Winds Brewing. Vancouver is playing Nashville tonight, and we want to know who's going to score the first goal for Vancouver. If you nail it, you could win a $25 gift card to the 4 Winds Tap Room located at 72nd and River Road in Delta. Enter by following us on social media, keep an eye out for today's show clip, and comment who you think will light the lamp and score the first goal tonight. Winners will be contacted directly. Check us out at Canucks Army on Twitter, at CanucksArmy.com on Instagram, and Canucks Army on Facebook. And make sure you ask about 4 Winds Light Lager at your local liquor store, or have some delivered to your front door through the online shop at 4windsbrewing.ca. Harm, without hesitation, I'm going with Dakota Joshua tonight.
Nice. I like that. I'm going to go with Pia Suter, just because that Miller line has been so dominant, and through this series, Suter has had a ton of chances, and outside of course, the game 1 tip goal he had, I think he's due for another one there.
What do you think of the playoff beard so far?
I honestly forgot that you were doing that. Like, I haven't noticed anything. Are you sure you haven't shaved in between it all?
No, and this is the thing. I was talking to my girlfriend, and I was like, I hate this. This is going as soon. Like, I hate it. I hate it. I don't want it.
You're the only one that notices this. I'm being completely honest. Like, I did not notice at all.
Have you ever seen that episode of Modern Family where Manny thinks he has a mustache?
No, I haven't.
Well, I'm relating a lot to that right now, and I think you can understand the premise and the joke. But anyways, I thought about shaving. I was like, they won't even notice. And I was right. And, she kept me accountable. She said, no, you said you'd do it. You got to keep doing it. And now looks like they're going to round 2, and I got to keep it going. I hate it. It's uncomfortable. I don't like it. I like, you know what, though? Like, I was looking at old mustaches throughout history, right? Not so much history, I shouldn't say, but I was playing MLB The Show. You know who Raleigh Fingers is? Do you know who that is, Harm?
No.
Okay, Google it right now. Google it right now. Open up a tab. I'll keep talking. Google it right now.
I do.
Of course you know who Raleigh Fingers is. Yeah, so he was a closer for the Oakland Athletics, Harm. And you'll see it. He had the wax on the stash, right? So he's a good one. You know Tom Selleck? You know who that is?
The name rings a bell.
Okay, Google Tom Selleck. Those are some great mustaches. Like, again, I'm not going to do the twirl. Like, I'm not going to do the Raleigh fingers. I think you're trying too hard if you do that. But like Tom Selleck, good mustache, like bushy, right? You need a bushy mustache for it to be good. Like,
buddy, you have no hair. Like, there's no hair above your lip.
Yeah.
Like, what
that's
mustache
what I'm
are you
saying.
talking about?
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying you need it to be thick. Mine is clearly not thick. That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't like growing it. It's just wiry and it looks weird. I don't like it. I look
It's
like I shouldn't be allowed to
consistent.
walk past an elementary school right now, and I don't like it.
Philip Forsberg's actually got a pretty good mustache, I must
Yes,
say.
he
Good
does.
shot, good
Yeah.
stash.
It's like a Mario stash.
Yeah, like
Yeah, it looks
sit
good.
at the end.
It looks good. Someone's giving you love for your beard. Not so much the mustache for me, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, the thing is, and I've said this before on the show, this is like, how long ago did the playoffs started? Like a week or two now?
Yeah.
This
Like
would be
2
like
weeks
a month.
Saturday.
This would be like a month usually. So not even a full 2 weeks. Like, this would be like a month what I've got going on now. So it's coming. It's coming.
Okay, man. It's like the Nashville Predators saying, "Oh, we're coming tonight." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay, man,
We're
like,
waiting.
all right, sure.
Clock is
I'll believe it
ticking.
when I see it."
Okay, let's keep talking about this game. Let's get to our segment that we like to call Anyone Else, where we take questions from all of our listeners. Anyone Else is brought to you by the Vancouver Canadians. The Seas are back at the Nat. Catch fireworks, giveaways, Friday nooners, and superstar appearances all spring and summer long. Get your tickets at CanadiansBaseball.com. The Seas are giving away a record 33 giveaways this season. This includes 6 koozies giveaways for the first 6 Saturdays of the season from all of their beer partners, and a giveaway every Sunday for Family Fun Sunday for kids 12 and under. The Canadians are back at the Nat on Tuesday, May 7th for a full homestand that includes a superstar appearance from Marco Estrada, the king of the changeup, on the 7th, a nooner at the Nat on the 10th, and a Family Fun Sunday on the 12th, where kids 12 and under can run the bases. For tickets, call 604-872-5232 or go to CanadiansBaseball.com. I got to get to a game again soon. I was there last week, Harm. Such a great experience. Saw Tommy Troy, Arizona Diamondbacks prospect. You could see, that's the thing, man. You can see like the top prospects in Major League Baseball coming through. It's a cool experience. It's a cool experience. It's good to go scouting. You know, I went to go pick him up in one of my deeper fantasy leagues that I'm in. Somebody already had him. Somebody already claimed Tommy Troy, who I hadn't even heard of. Well, I'd heard of him, but I'd never seen him play. He's a ball player, man. Hitting 3-stick in the lineup there. He's a ball player. He's a ball player. Okay, any baseball thoughts for you, Harm?
I'm excited to go once the Canucks, like maybe in late June, once the Canucks win the cup and we're done covering the playoffs. Then at that point, I'll have some more time to go to the Nat, because it's always a blast to go with the buddies. And again, the hot dogs, man. Like I'm gonna be completely honest. I'm there more for the hot dogs than I am for the actual baseball action. And I say this as somebody that, in general, like, I never eat hot dogs. You know what I mean? Like, the Nat hot dogs are an exception.
Yeah, they're good, man. They're fantastic. And hey, you know what? I like baseball, but I'm also there for the hot dogs. I don't think I've ever been to a Seas game and not ordered a hot dog. You know what I ordered last year though, Harm? Was the giant pretzel. It's like $18. It's the size of a large pizza, and it's a pretzel. Oh, that was money. Although that one you want to share. It's not, you can't eat it in one sitting if you've also had a hot dog. I ate a little too much that day. But anyways, yeah, go check out the Vancouver Canadians. Okay, let's get to anyone else.
Have you seen the challenges of like 9 innings, 9 beers, 9 hot dogs?
Of course I've seen it. I've lived it, Harm. Haven't done it, but I've seen people like doing that more so when I go down south. But I have seen that. And there's so much good food at the Nat, as it's Jacoby in the YouTube live chat pointed out. There's so much good food at the Nat. Like, the nachos are really good. And I don't want to go through the entire menu, but we legitimately could all day. And Harm, maybe that's some off-season content. Since they're a partner, I think we are going to do some shows from the Nat. I think that'd be fun in the summer. Do a couple shows from the Nat, right? Like, you got the nooners, because they do those on Fridays now, right? So when we go down to 2 shows a week in the summer, maybe we could do a show from Nat Bailey Stadium. And maybe just, maybe we don't have to do the 9 innings, 9 hot dogs, 9 beers challenge, but maybe we try some food during the show. I think it'd be good. And there's a lot
let's do it.
Okay. This one is Jacoby, and no more baseball talk, I promise, folks. But it's Jacoby. Quads and Harm share a 3-foot dog at the net. If the Canucks make the Cup final, I'm on board with that. I'll do that. 1.5 feet each. I think I can put that down.
I haven't seen it in person, so I'm a little hesitant to fully commit to it. But if you give us enough time, like if you give us the whole ball game, then I think between the two of us, we can do it.
Absolutely, we can put that away, no problem, no problem. Well, maybe slight problems later, but no problem during it. We can put that away. The yard dog, it's a classic. It's a classic. Okay, and this one from Conversation. I'll ask him. I think Faber could do the 999 challenge, where obviously 9 innings, 9 beers, 9 hot dogs. I'll tell you what. I'm not going to speak for him, but I certainly would not be betting against Chris to be able to do that.
Yeah, no, fully agree. I'm not betting against him in something like that.
I just asked him, so hopefully he responds and gives me an answer. But anyways, hopefully he Googles it, because I just said, could you do the 999 challenge? Okay, it's a game day, Harm. Let's get some actual Canucks questions. This one from Top G, it was one of the early ones here. Are the Canucks playing their best possible line combinations, or what would you change? There was a report, I think from Jeff Paterson, that Vasily Podkolzin was sent down to Abbotsford to join Abbotsford for the AHL playoffs. Abbotsford's on to round 2. Zach Sawchenko is leading them in the goal crease. He played 6 games this year for the Abby Canucks, and those all came later, much later in the year. Didn't play most of the year down in Abbotsford. It was Zach Sawchenko coming up big for the Abbotsford Canucks right now. They are off to round 2. There are going to be home games at the Abbotsford Center. Of course, we'll have all that coverage at Canucks Army. We'll have the Farmies. We'll have all the previews, all the post games, everything you need about the Abbotsford Canucks. But back to this question, Harm. Are the Canucks playing their best possible line combinations? If not, what would you change?
I don't have a problem with the line combinations. Obviously, you're not going to break up the Miller line. Maybe you could say that the Paterson line hasn't been going and you want to look at other options, but then to do that, you'd have to break up Joshua and Garland as a duo. And I don't think you want to do that based off how dominant they were in the regular season. And I don't think they've necessarily been their most dominant on a shift-by-shift basis over the course of the series, but they've still connected. And Game 1, that third line was excellent. Obviously, also connecting on the OT winner for Elias Lindholm. So, and then from the fourth line, like, I don't want to bump up PDG or Lafferty to play on Pedersen's line. So I don't think there's a lot of tinkering I'd be doing with the line combinations right now.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I was trying to think about what I would shake up, and I don't know. Like, I think all the adjustments you need to make should happen in game, and I don't think you have any reason to right now. And I know they didn't play spectacular, but you came away with the win. Let these guys cook. Like let them cook. Let them just go for it. And again, this is a big game tonight. This is one that they are going to want to be taking care of business in for sure.
By the way, now that they have last change, I'd love to see Tocchet weaponize that Miller line in advantageous situations. Like, get that Miller line out against, I mean, in the first 2 games, it was a lot of the Michael McCarron line, Nashville's fourth line, for example. Get him out against Sisson's line. As long as they're not, I mean, even power versus power, if they had to go up against the O'Reilly line, I still think Miller would win that matchup. But if you can get Miller out against Nashville's second and third pairs or their bottom 6, like, take advantage of that now that you're on home ice and have a deeper lineup than the Nashville Predators do. Because given how dominant Miller and Brock have been, it was interesting that as game 4 progressed, right, because they'd scored off that set play, Nashville and Andrew Brunette was a lot more reluctant to play that fourth line against Miller, which I think is an acknowledgement that, okay, we were playing with a little bit of fire in being like, we don't care what line we play against JT Miller. I think that's in the back of their head now. But of course, because the series shifts to Vancouver now, it doesn't matter anyway.
Okay, I got a response from Faber. He said easily, very easily, he could put down 999, 9 innings, 9 beers, 9 hot dogs. He even took it a step further and said he could probably do a 14-14-14 challenge. If it went extra innings, he could still be putting down hot dogs. But he said after 14, extra innings or a doubleheader would get me. And he says hello to all the Canucks Conversation listeners. But yeah, I tried to bring him on. To just come say yes. But anyways, yeah, shout out to Faber. Okay, this is a good one from VinXD. One I've wondered about myself, Harm. Will the Green Men make a return tonight or at all this playoff season? It's time we bring back the penalty box menaces. I did the story a couple months ago when they came back for that game against Boston. I talked to Adam Forsyth, and he was talking about how Sully lives in Saskatchewan now, and it's really hard for him to, fly out. Like the Canucks put them up in a hotel. They did all these things, and the Canucks, by all accounts, the Canucks were very, very open to having them back for the playoffs. And it's not like the Canucks saying, no, we don't want to pay for your hotel or anything like that. At least that's not how I understand the situation. I think it's just very difficult logistically for these guys to make it work. Like they both have children now, or I think Force is expecting his first. I think I'm got that timeline right. But I know Sully's got 2 little girls, and they're busy. These guys are busy. Like they're grown men. They're grown men now. And they're busy. So I don't know. I don't know if we're going to see them. I hope they make it out for the playoffs. He didn't close the door when I talked to him. Didn't close the door on coming out for the playoffs at some point. It would be awesome to see them in their leotards tonight, right next to the penalty box. That would be amazing.
Yeah, especially because it's playoffs, right? Like would love to see it if possible at some point.
Yeah. This is interesting. Yeah, let's wrap it up on this one, Harm. We'll wrap it up on this one. Yeah, this one from VinXD as well. We'll wrap it up on this one here. I think it's time we revisit the Lindholm-Kuzmenko trade. With how Lindholm is playing, would Kuzmenko be playing on the same level? Did the Canucks succeed in what they wanted for the trade? I'll just come out and say Andrei Kuzmenko can't play center, right? He can't win draws, and he can't even play defensively as a winger. Like he's not defensively responsible enough to play on this team. That's what we learned. So you make this trade. Elias Lindholm wasn't good in the regular season. Elias Lindholm's been great in the playoffs. He hasn't worked as Elias Pettersson's winger, but now I'm starting to wonder how much of that was Lindholm's fault and how much of that was just, okay, Elias Pettersson's not playing like himself right now, and no matter who you put on his wing, that's not going to get him going. He's got to get himself going at some point. Lindholm's playing great. And I know you didn't trade for him to be the third line center, but good teams, like teams that win the cup, teams that go on deep playoff runs, they have those 3 great centers. And in the flat cap era, sometimes it's hard to get those guys, but Elias Lindholm's providing the Canucks with a ton of value right now.
Yeah, you scored 2 big goals through the first 4 games of the series to give you a 3-1 edge. And on top of that, he's been excellent on a Canucks PK that has shut the door on Nashville's power play. Again, a Predators man advantage that ranked 2nd best in the NHL from the All-Star break till the end of the regular season. There's a lot of value in that. I mean, ton of value in that.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see if he continues showing that value tonight. When these 2 teams face off. I'm excited, Harm. We'll be back in studio tomorrow, folks, at the Wall Center to break it all down. 2:00 start for us tomorrow. Rinkwide has you covered for all of your post-game needs. But before we sign off, I got to get it in. Our Bet365 bet of the day, brought to you by Bet365, a proud partner of Canucks Conversation. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Be sure to use code VANBONUS when you sign up for an account. Okay, here is our Bet365 bet of the day. Pull it up, Grady. It's an easy one, folks. It's an easy one. You're hammering it today. It's the Vancouver Canucks to win in any fashion tonight. -125 odds on the money line. I like it, Harm. Canucks to clinch tonight. I like it. I like it a lot. I think they get it done. Not to jinx them. I don't think you can jinx this team at this point. They've overcome. What did they overcome? They overcame the playoff hype video one time for Thatcher Demko. Thatcher Demko plays 1 game. They overcame that cringe Casey DeSmith video. Casey DeSmith plays a game. He's out right after that video comes out. Nobody's made a hype song about She Loves. We did that last year. The trick, folks, the trick is to make these songs, free advice, make these songs when the team's bad, right? Make the songs when the team's bad and they'll be listened to for years. That's what happened with the Artie Party song. That's an anthem. And, Artie gave it a 6 or 7 out of 10 himself. We got the review from Artie himself. 6 or 7 out of 10.
Not bad for a couple of music amateurs.
That's right. And I mean, it was just Faber. Just Faber made it. Yeah, not much music producing experience, but he did it, and it was great. It was fantastic. Okay, we'll close it out there for my co-host Harmon Dialer and technical producer Grady Sass. My name is Dave Bugelli. Thank you so much for listening to the episode of the Canucks Conversation.
A lot of people are calling it an arty party when you're in that.
I like that.
Thanks for watching, folks. Canucks Conversation with Harmon and Quads brought to you by the Toyota BZ4X. The BZ4X's fresh look is just an added bonus to its range since you can drive up to 406 kilometers on a single charge. That's enough to get you from Kitsilano to Whistler or Kamloops to Kelowna and back and still be home in time for the game. Now that's what we'd call electric. The best part, by choosing electric, you can get up to $11,000 in rebates and incentives. The BZ4X are in stock and selling quickly, so make sure to visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer to get your hands on one. Canucks Conversation is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at 2 p.m. over on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and interact in the YouTube live chat every day with us, folks.